Hey, I'm Plus Infinite, and today we're going to be looking at a first place undefeated Super Quant deck profile featuring Cursed Eyes. Let's check it out. Quick disclaimer that this is not going to be a deck profile where we explain the deck. Instead, it'll be a little bit more like a casual podcast style interview where we discuss deck building theories and some of the decisions that went into the different games that Cursed Eyes played in this tournament. If you're looking for timestamps, you can see them on the screen and in the description down below. And now, on to the interview. All right, Cursed, tell me a little bit about what you did today.
All right, so I went 4-0 at the Rarity Collection event that occurred at my locals. Decently competitive event. There was at least one person on something very very silly, but everyone else was really trying to win the match. So I'm really happy to have done pretty well there. Yeah, and of course,
Incredible.
with
4-0.
Super Quant as it would be. Yes. 4-0.
4-0 with Super Quants. I didn't hear from you, but I assume you got first place.
Oh yeah, first place.
Wow. So I'm going to be shoving that in the title and the thumbnail.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First place
4-0,
undefeated Super Quants. Okay, so I've got the deck on screen, Cursed, and I'm having a look at it here. So this is the pure version of Super Quants, which is a deck I haven't played in quite some time. I focus mostly on the fun little hybrid variations, and I love exploring stuff like that. But can you tell me your opinion about the pure variant of Super Quants in 2024 and how you feel about that?
Absolutely. So, of course, I've been keeping up with your hybrid builds and your escapades with them, and the strengths of a pure build would be very different from the strength of a hybrid build. We were talking about this either this morning or the other day. Something I find really strong about the hybrid builds is that they always have something to do. They always have another way to push into a board. But I really value the pure strategy just for being able to always guarantee consistent ways of getting to the engine, or to always guarantee it's always trying to do virtually the same thing every game. But I really like pure just for the non-engine it can slot in and how consistently it goes for what it really wants to do.
Absolutely, thank you. And I think the consistency is definitely the thing that stands out to me. Looking at this build here, we've got so you've got the diviners, of course, which I actually went a long time not playing diviners in pure, which I'm sure that was due to budget reasons at the time, because I just didn't want to drop all the money on diviner, and it's not like it's changed much ever since Voiceless Voice came out. But with the diviners accessible, it certainly increases the amount of times you're going to see Alphen, which is always good. But going with that, here I see enemy controller. And I know we've talked about this in the Discord, but enemy controller and diviner is a match made in heaven, I think.
Absolutely. Just diviner is always going to be a push into the board that people are going to interact with, especially if they don't know the deck. They might worry about an Entis in the extra deck, or they might just know like, oh, this gets them to their main plays. If they are assuming Voiceless Voice, then Entis is probably somewhere in that extra deck as a thing that they are going to have to deal with regardless. So stopping diviner is usually something that people are going to do when it is a main push into the board. And having Econ as a quick play way of pushing into a board with a diviner is just incredible, because you can Econ on any of their other interactions, and if they don't negate it or if they don't stop it, then that's great. You get to steal their monster. If they do stop the Econ, that's fine. You have another way of pushing into a board with Diviner's second effect, since it was tributed for cost and not for effect.
Exactly. I love it because like when you draw those two, you know that you're pushing into the board going second. Like it's such a strong going second push, I think. I am seeing as well Forbidden Droplet, and I love that card. I think it's just great. Sending White Layer, and activating its effect. Gotta feel good, right? Getting some pluses off your off your board breaker, always great.
Absolutely. You could say it makes you go plus infinite even.
Thank you.
I know that when it comes to our deck building, because you're often on hybrids, you're on 2 white layer, while I usually lean more toward 3. And I think because I'm on 3, having Droplet can make certain hands when going second go from unplayable even to being incredible just for being able to send white layer as a send. And I think that philosophy could potentially be applied to like Horus variants. I know people were looking into that or any other big discard outlet variant. Having 3 white layer, I think, is very, very nice. But just in general, the synergy between Droplet and White is incredible. But even without it, Droplet is just felt like an incredible board breaker. Like sometimes your hand could be gummed up on way too many ways to Alphen, but just Droplet putting all of those cards to use, absolutely wonderful. And even sometimes dodging effect negation. If you really need your blue layer to resolve, then
Oh yeah.
Droplet sent blue, beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I love that with the advanced tech of sending your cards to dodge the imperm. Oh man. So yeah, Droplet, really solid card. Econ, really solid card. Great board breaking here. Good strong pushes going second, which is a thing that I've always felt that the pure variant lacked in. I feel like you really need to strengthen that part of the deck because it already has a great resource game. Like it already has a great grind game with White and Alphen's interaction of constantly generating bodies every turn, right? So you really just want to give that extra oomph, and I like these choices here. Tell me about Monster Gate.
So this is certainly one that is very it is a loved card by me. I like Monster Gate very similarly for the reasons why I like Econ, specifically because of its interaction with Diviner. I Because you contribute Diviner for cost, you get a free body from deck and Diviner resolving, and that
That's
essentially
after
makes
Imperm
it.
on Diviner. I love that.
Exactly, yeah. It essentially makes it, I wouldn't say an archetypal crossout designator, but a one that means that we have an extra way of beating hand traps. Very similarly to a card like Foolish Burial, even. Like, if you interact with Diviner in Super Quant, we have a quote unquote play set of cards that are going to deal with that in Trias Hierarchia, Foolish Burial, and Monster Gate, all of which are even going to be an imperm.
I
Or
love that.
any other kind of
I
interaction.
love that. Because like for me, playing Diviner, not only was it a budget decision for me originally, I think another reason I didn't want to play into Diviner was because I was afraid of getting impermed on Alphen already. Why would I also want another normal that dies to Ash and Imperm just as much? But as I can see here, the innovations here with, as you said, Enemy Controller, Monster Gate, and even Foolish Burial to drop the Trias Hierarchia in the grave. I love that. Incredible.
Absolutely.
And then we've got One for One, which traditionally for me has always been hard to justify, just because it's a lot of investment, but it still generates some incredible plays, and I have to concede that One for One, does still leave you with your normal. So if you have blue in hand, which often does happen,
Absolutely.
right? Like you basically have Vitelli. It's basically a fourth copy of Vitelli at that point, right?
Yeah, indeed. Especially if you go with the USA configuration,
Mm-hmm.
which is of course red, white, and blue.
Right, right.
If you it turns it from a 33% chance of hitting blue to a 66% chance when you add back with a red layer later. So you can choose to add back blue to just normal summon it out, which is very, very nice.
I love that. That's just such a good, yeah, because you still have your normal. I love that. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your links. So we're going into the extra
Of
deck
course.
now, and I see you've got the Xyz armor stuff. And how's that been working out for you? What's your feelings on that?
Mhm. I love the full armored XYZ package more than anything. Like it is the um I guess one of the most recent innovations of the deck that has felt um uh as the soul would to a heart, even like just having um a guaranteed way of always ending on interaction, or just an extra push with like Speedroid Terratop, or like that can add an extra layer to the interaction, an extra layer, so to speak, of interaction to your end board. Um, and even just the discard outlets of it all, with being able to add a full armored XYZ to represent two discards in one, just so that the rest of your hand can be follow up. It can be your other interaction. Like, you will with this, you will never have to discard your one of called by ever again. The package is incredible, absolutely.
Tell me about
Mhm.
the link plays here. So we've got Princess. I haven't talked much about Princess yet, but I've heard a lot about it in the Discord. And tell me about that.
So, despite the five extra expresses dedicated to links, I'd actually say my link package is somewhat limited, mainly because three of those links are to facilitate Promethean Princess, a card which uh, I really, really do like for the deck, solely just because it is a reborn for red layer that we can access from the extra deck. And if that's all Princess was, I would still love it nonetheless. Because I feel like one of the hardest aspects of this deck, just from a mechanical perspective, is trying to resolve the on-field effect of red layer, which is pretty powerful, but sometimes it's only ever going to be a 33% chance of getting it with Alphen, or and sometimes you don't even want it, or you have to draw a red layer off the top after a couple turns, or you have to hit the foolish red layer combo.
Yeah,
It feels very rare, but having a way.
it's really hard to find red layer because like you start it, especially at first thing, right? And even with Terratop, it makes it even rarer. But if you special summon red layer, like you've got nothing in the grave unless you have the foolish burial, like you said, then you get the value with the white in your hand. But even then, it's so rare to get the effect. But if you can push it to a little bit later, reviving red is really cool.
Absolutely, and Princess guaranteeing a third name on field enables some lines to get to Magnus that we just wouldn't have had access to before. Like, I do guess up the 33% chance of a 1.75 card Magnus every now and again, but just in practicality, just having it there, knowing like I always have access to red layer so long as three bodies hit the field, so long as I can get um, uh, things in rotation, I will always have access to red layer, which means that there's a lot less pressure on needing to, a lot less pressure on white layer, a lot less pressure on the E-Telly needing to be drawn. Just really nice to have it. I quite like Princess. And of course, the interaction is uh, pretty solid too. Just sometimes the opponent will forget about it and just bam, your monster's gone. And I have follow up for next turn ready.
I love that. I love that. So with Princess reviving red, would you say how much better is that than let's say Celine reviving green, for example? What's your thoughts on that?
I think Celine is an excellent card in its own right, and if I was on a 20 card extra deck, I'd absolutely be running Celine as long as was a
Of
featured
course.
armor.
Of course.
Um, the difference between them is that reviving green requires that you have certain follow up options in hand. So let's say you've went through Magna Carrier, and I'm on the one, of course, but other people could be on others. But if you're on like two Magna Carrier, you went through it. You're reviving back green. You really want to see the red layer in hand. You want to see blue layer in hand, etc. While with Princess, compared to Celine, so long as you have three bodies, which, hey, Magnus going to graveyard happens to enable three bodies, you can summon back your red layer, get access to Magna Carrier immediately, get access to blue layer immediately if you haven't used your normal summon from the graveyard from when you've used it with Alphen's effect the other turn, and just always ensure that no matter what you draw, whether it's as dead as a talent or maybe even the best card in your deck that you could have needed, you are always going to have access to it past turn one. And I think that is incredibly valuable, just because as much as Magnus is the boss monster of all boss monsters, you can't guarantee that he's going to survive every turn, that people don't have an out, especially in 2024, where we've got monsters reaching absurd attack values, goddesses and extra decks, kaijus, of course.
Thank you, Raid Raptor, for that, by the way. Mr.
Oh, and
Okay,
XYZ
yeah.
Encore even got a reprint.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, as if they needed more access to that card. Yeah, last thing we need, and more purely going around. Oh my god, not looking good for.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I love Magnus absolutely, but I think going second or trying to close out a game, it's hard for Magnus. With full Armored Exceeds, it's a little easier. Like you can get some great pushes with just the Armored Exceeds package, but I love that Princess can do some really wacky things going second. That's pretty cool. So tell me about Pid Night Early. How does that work in this strategy? Like when does it come up and how do you use it?
So in terms of just being a second filing too, it means that there's a lot less pressure on Heater to have to be the only one you go into. So having a second felt really nice. And it's generic enough to where I could see myself going into it normally with two Super Quant bodies, even just to facilitate like an SP Little Knight, or to even push through with its first effect, which pretty decent. I think it's somewhat underrated, although it's very difficult to resolve since it relies on the opponent not interacting, given its quick effect speed, rather than being a trigger effect. But honestly, just the second effect being a revive so that it comes back every single turn, ensuring that you always have an extra body for an SP player, ensuring that you always have a 1500 attack beta, and ensuring that you always have a way to reduce an opponent's attack to 0. I quite liked early in this build. I think she really pulled her weight yesterday, despite being somewhat underrated.
I love that. Yeah, and would you say that that is a play like off of Princess? Like, okay, because of the fire lock, is that you can go into early? Do you do that?
Yes, absolutely. And I used to only do Peter and Princess just because I figured I want the extra deck slot just for something else, maybe like a dark, a light. But if I need Princess, I can use it. But ever since, I've just really I've just used the extra deck slot. I bit the bullet, and ending on early has felt a lot more threatening than ending on Heater. I must admit, and it's been really really nice. Even just knowing that next turn I'm always getting a body, even if I have nothing else. I at least have this 1500 attack body that's going to be very annoying for them to deal with. I think it's one of the perfect monsters to pair with Princess. 100%.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. And I mean, I think that pretty much sums up the extra deck. Now for side choices here, I can tell because you're playing Monster Gate that you wanted to limit the amount of hand traps. So we've got just the trap hand trap in the form of Imperm in the main, and then we side in the Ash and the Nib here. What's your feelings on Nib? Because I love Nib.
In terms of right now for the format, Nib is a very 50-50 card, and I think in general, people are. It's such a red light green light of a card where I think people I don't think people should be playing it in their main deck, but if people aren't playing it in their main deck, then it's better to play it in the main deck because
Oh yes.
it's not. And then, the cycle continues, and people know that to play around Nib, so they stop maining Nib. I chose to side it this time just because it was there's a lot of variety in what you could face, and I didn't want to compromise the main deck in case I ran into stuff like the Adventure Engine, in case I ran into like Appaloosa, which I did worry about, but thankfully I didn't see too much of, and I really liked the board break approach regardless. The one cute thing I think with Nib, at least if you do want to run it in the main deck, is it is another card that tributes. So if you have Nib Diviner, normal Diviner, it gets impermed. Then if you Nib during their turn, you're getting Alphen ready for next turn without the normal summon.
I love that. I mean, you can even pass, and then next turn if you want to Nib on their turn, right? You're hitting you're hitting Diviner on
Absolutely.
their turn. Oh boy, I love that. One other thing I've always thought about, although it's never came up for me, if you have Magnus out and they're really trying to push, and you have Nib in hand, like you could just Nib anyways, and Magnus is not going anywhere.
Yes. Oh, it's only happened a few times in my career of Super Quant, but oh, when it does, it's like they always ask like, oh, does that go to grave too? It's like, sorry. It's the same with Zeus. Like you do the Zeus swipe, and it's like, oh, does Magnus go? And it's like, no,
Nope,
sorry.
nope. I love that. Zeus and Magnus next to each other. That's why I got them on my mat.
Hell yeah! Link in the description below.
Yeah, link in the description. Okay, and another interesting tech here, a new card, Metal Tronus. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I know my locals meta pretty well, and I did not know who was and wasn't participating, but I do know that we have Valmonica, which did enter, we Centurion, which was not around today, and a few and a few others that I keep my eye on. I know that Pearly is around every now and again. I don't think I saw that today, but the reason I quite like it is because it is it is essentially a copy of Forbidden Chalice, but it's one that in a weird way can get us to engine. And of course, there's a bunch of like generic targets for it. There's IP and SP, which you can use for like if they have an IP and SP, since I believe they can't respond with the monster they use. You have a
Right.
you can have your XYZs, but I really liked it. I've been liking it against Centurion, which a very scary matchup, just because of Metaltronus target Crimson Dragon, summon Alphen. Metaltronus target the big XYZs, just summons Magnus directly from the extra deck. But it was also just because I'm expecting like Appaloosa to be around, and would you believe it? Appaloosa is a wind fairy with variable attack values. So if they end on a 3 material Appaloosa, then because of the way Metaltronus is worded, you get to special summon before the negate. So their attack remains at the attack value it was when you targeted it until the monster is summoned. So you can target Appaloosa, which is a 2400 attack fairy to summon White Lair, which is a great way to engine.
Oh my
Or
goodness.
a 2 material for Green Lair, which is a wind 1600.
No way. That's wild. That's wild. Metaltronus doing some very interesting things. Metaltronus is really cool because to me it reminds me of a lot of other good board breakers, but it's at such a good price point. Like for it being a card that just came out and having so much utility, even if it is a little niche and a little hard to wrap your head around, if you plan ahead, like for what looks like to be under $1, like you can get some real value out of that card. So really cool.
I think it's very much worth it, especially if it might be if you're planning for locals, like you can personalize stuff. If you're heading to a regional, it might be worth swapping it out just because what you might face might end up being a bit more unknown there, or you might not like know the decks that people are bringing, which makes the card a little bit worse. You can swap it out for something, but I think if you're feeling confident in your knowledge of a format or in your knowledge of a meta, I think I love the cards. It's so cute.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I think that wraps up about everything I have to look at this build. So yeah, I guess we'll get over to the breakdown of how your games went. So tell me a little bit about your matches. 4-0, man, what an accomplishment with Super Quants. Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked. I didn't drop a single game. So round one was the goofy one. It was 2-0 versus Ice Barrier. They seem to be like a big fan of floodgates, but I ended up winning that die roll. Game one, I mid Magnus very very simply, very easily, and because they run a stun like deck, they weren't really able to come back from the big boss. Game two, they had I think it was like Soul Drain, Mind Drain, but again, just not enough to stop.
All right, cool. So what was your next match after that?
Valmonica, which is a very interesting deck. I know the pilot quite well. Game one was I ended up losing the die roll, and they ended up setting up the the Link one that could copy trap cards while setting up the bounce. and their field spell, which is a Snatch Steal. And I didn't know this. They also had an Ash Blossom in hand.
Oh, wow. That sounds like
Um,
a really aggressive thing to have to play through.
it was terrifying. I was like, oh gosh, if I do not have interaction against a deck like this, I feel like I'm cooked. But thankfully, I can remember my hand exactly. E-Telly, E-Telly, Droplet, Talent, and Green Layer into I believe a top deck Alphen.
Nice. Wow, that's a pretty powerful. You've already got Italian Alphen in hand to start with. That's great. You had Droplet and Triple Tactics Talent. Oh man, sounds like you got a really good hand to go
Oh,
against that board.
indeed. It was a simple matter of E-Telly, E-Telly, to which they didn't respond to either. I chained my Droplet on their Baguska on their Link 1, which shut off all on-field interaction. And then but they did chain because I only sent 2 spell cards. Their Link 1 to turn on, just get some value out of it since they weren't going to get anything else out of it. Um, and then they used Ash on Blue Layer, which I thought was pretty smart because they had already played into talents, and if I did have it, this was their last opportunity to use it. And hitting Blue Layer and praying that I just don't have Alphen's access made sense.
Right.
But then after that, it was just a simple matter of normal green, special Alphen, and I believe with Alphen I actually picked Alphen Red White.
Interesting.
Um, Yeah, ended up hitting Alphen there.
Oh.
Made a bunch of rank threes. Popped one of the skills, the one that Link summons during if I declare an attack, and then that was
Ooh.
game one,
Ooh,
just
perfect.
over and done with.
Didn't even need
Oh, of
Magnus,
course,
huh?
I didn't even need Magnus. It was Talons take Baguska, make Zeus over it, which because Celatris was attached as material, zero follow up on their end.
Oh my goodness. Tactics and Droplet coming in for the clutch with Italian Alphen in hand. Goodness, what a great hand.
Game
What
two, I'm quite proud of the game two, I have to say. They started off with I believe it was their demon discarding an imperm to set the 2 scales. And if they're discarding imperm, that signals a pretty low engine hand. They normal Celatris, I imperm that, and I ended up passing on 2 sets. One of them I'm pretty certain is an imperm. I couldn't tell what the other one could be, but when it came to my turn, I remember the specific hand was red layer, diviner, white layer, and I top deck droplet, and I top decked a cosmic, I believe. And I didn't
Okay,
just want
yep.
to blind cosmic, even though it was a 50-50 shot, but I really wanted to cosmic one of the scales at some point, just because that does a lot. So I special red layer, normal diviner, and there is indeed an imperm.
Of course.
But I do take the time to think about it, and because they have Celatris on field, I have white layer in hand, red layer. I chain droplet, sending my own diviner just to get it off field, uh,
Oh,
and send
dodging the
white layer.
imperm. Oh, sending the
Indeed,
white
indeed.
layer?
Yep. White layer in hand, send red for cost. Get white on field, use red layer to get the other white on field, overlay it, make Zeus. I think about wiping the board, but I just cosmic the unknown set, thinking it could be another imperm, just in case, and it was a bluff talent. But then the Zeus just ended up clearing the board there. That it felt really, really nice.
Wow, yeah. So a clean 2-0 against Valmonica, a clean 2-0 against Iceberry in round 1. Wow, you must be feeling great by this point. What do you feel like going into round 3, and who did you go up against?
Going into round three, I think this like I'm feeling pretty good, but then I know I'm matched against Lightsworn, and I end up
Absolutely.
losing the die roll to them. So I think this is it. The run's dead. I'm cooked. But thankfully, in game one, the mills they got only facilitated the adventure half of the deck. They ended on just the adventure stuff and Minerva for a hopeful mill. But I remember they I had a Quant on field, and it was either blue or red, and they were like, is Magna Carrier a like hard once per turn to activate at all? But they had to take it from me, read it, and go, where is the once per turn? Where is the once per turn?
Yeah, yeah.
But negated it. They negated it with their Griffin Riding negate, which I think was a little bit of a misplay on their part, since I think there were other opportunities, or at least other better opportunities, since they've played against my deck before.
Oh, so
But
they
it
even
was
had the knowledge. Oh,
they did, yes. They are. Uh, I wouldn't say an expert at the deck, but they certainly know the deck
they
by
know you
now.
well.
Indeed, indeed. Game two was very funny in this case, though, because they played it very chill, very slow, and I had a Nibiru in hand. So I
Interesting.
was like, okay, they're not doing much. They're just kind of getting set up for next turn. So I imagine they know my side deck. They're worried about Nib, and they don't have a way to play for it. They set one, and it's D barrier,
Oh
and I'm like,
no.
ooh, yeah, immediately activates it, and I'm like, right, I see.
Oh my
What am I
goodness.
doing here?
Wow. So
Um,
what's going through your mind at this point?
uh, I'm thinking like I'm on the D barrier. I'm up a game. There is enough time in the rounds to the point where like I don't need to worry about a time win or a time loss occurring here. So I see that they had. I believe they set up 3 bodies on my turn. Did not plant a nib. I'm feeling all right because I can at least clear the bodies. One of them's a Garua because they had 8 elements, I believe. Um, 3 bodies, and I'm like, right, if I can clear a couple of the bodies, they're down on resources. I believe it was 2 in hand. So then the D barrier just won't have much effect on me. So I can go and I can potentially set up a Princess Pop. I can potentially set up IP into SP, and all will be well with the world.
I
But
see.
then
I see. So you leaned into the link plays.
I did, yes. I think that's a somewhat underrated strength of the deck. I know when I started playing Super Quant, I back in like 2020 or whatever, I was like, oh, it's an XZ deck. Like you really want to summon XZs, but the fact that there is no locks, the fact that you have a lot of generic link tools available for you means that any generic link that's really solid, that's Super Quant support, baby, whether Konami wants it to be or not.
Yep.
But yeah, no. Under D barrier, things got very scary. Started off with a Teratop. I believe the one of the first times I drew it in the tournament, and what a great time for it. Got me to Takatombog, and then I believe I only set up a few bodies of my own. I got to uh, a green and a blue, I believe. So like honestly, not much, but I should say it, they when I did a Takatombog, they have this, and I was like, oh no, like this, I
Oh.
got flashbacks to T Elements formats, like this is gonna do so much, but thankfully the mills weren't crazy, and I played the bodies, um, and I was like, you know what, I will just link to IPSP with Nibiru in hand. That should hopefully be enough. And when I passed it over to them, they ended up getting enough gas to make a huge push, but I SP'd onto their Garua, and they got to the Minerva Synchro. Thankfully, with fewer bodies, they did need to like really hard play into it. They got to Judgment Dragon, not playing the Punishment Dragon due to its price, so they played Judgment Dragon as their level 8 of choice.
Mm.
We're about to overlay for the zombie vampire. Was about to summon Griffin Rider with hand from hand, I believe, to
Oh.
get in the get. It was my last choice, my last chance in the Nibiru. Slammed it down, and they uh, just had nothing from there. Which meant when it came back to my turn, Super Quant Engine go, Power Rangers go. Ended up hitting blue layer off Alpha, and that, as soon as they saw
Oh
that, because they
wow.
knew the deck, they were like, I'm scooping, I'm
Yeah,
scooping.
that's it.
So
It had blue layer off of Alpha, and after that kind of play, like wow.
I think that this game in general really did help to showcase the variety of options that you can play in Super Quant. Like I'm on a very limited link package for what it is, but those ended up being super strong as a way to establish something even through a barrier. And when it got to their turn, SP plus nib just ended up being too much.
Oh yeah.
Well, IP into SP on nib ended up being too much for them. Big nib token, of course, but fairly easy to clear when there's nothing else to worry
Of
about.
course, of course. I love the nib like turn 3 and beyond. Like that's just great. That's
Absolutely, absolutely.
and plus with the SP getting rid of itself anyways, you're really not losing too much value.
Yeah, and that absolutely came up on the following turn. I was like, oh, I really want to get red layer back into rotation. Like I need to summon red layer, so I just linked off my SP and
Perfect.
I believe the Nibiru, yeah, to just here's my princess. Go.
There it is. There it is. So
Yeah.
tell me, going into round 4, you've got 3 rounds of consecutive 2-0s. You must be feeling amazing.
I am, especially at this point. Initially, the people local said, "Oh, I think we're only going to have 3 rounds today." So I went into round 4 thinking, "Oh, I've won the map. Okay, great. I went undefeated." But then across the eye of the room, and there was another undefeated player, and my local said, "Well, with 2 undefeated, we can't decide a winner yet, so we're going to have one more round." So it was me
Wow.
versus a great player. They are on Snake Eye. And at
Oh
first I'm thinking,
no.
oh, they're on a budget version of Snake Eye. Yeah, like they told me. I think they're on a Fire King Snake Eye. They're on
Right.
uh or maybe just like the Abel style Snake Eye. And I come to learn out they have dropped the big bucks on Snake Eye. They are
Oh man.
all in on it. So I
Oh
was like
man.
terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, good heavens! Like, there's no way I'm doing this. But a very peculiar thing happens. I end up losing the die roll, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I if I can break through a Snake Eye or Snake Eye Fire King board because I wasn't fully sure of the deck. But then they say, um, you know what? You can go first, and I'm thinking,
What?
oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like, why? And then I realized, because I know that this person is a big Schmidt fan, they are the Snake Eye variant they're playing must be the blind second one. Like they must be on
Oh, the
few hand
OTK
traps and
line.
just a bunch of breakers. Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow. They challenged you.
They did, and you know what? I don't think it was necessarily incorrect. I mean, of course, if I do get to Magnus, then um, it is a terrifying thing, and it's something that they're going to struggle to deal with. But I've freely admitted to people at the locals, Magnus is not always a guarantee. If I have Italy Diviner, yes, but I'm not going to draw that hand every game, and never is any Supercon pilot unless you're just that good. Um,
Clearly stacking.
indeed,
And
indeed.
even if you do, like, doesn't mean like they're not gonna run into an Ash and an Imperm in hand at the same time.
Exactly. So I'm like terrified of like will I be able to get to Magnus? And it became priority number one when I was going first. I was like, right, I have to make Magnus, otherwise I can't. And the hand I ended up drawing was the key components were 1-for-1, red layer, white layer, and Monster Gate, which will come up later.
Ooh, the
Uh,
spicy
so
tech
no
of the
path to
deck.
Diviner. Indeed, the goo, as some would say, I loved it a lot. But I started off like thinking, okay, maybe there is like an Ash somewhere in here. So it was 1-for-1 pitch, uh, white layer. Uh, it's in an attempt to summon Alpha from deck, thinking, all right, if this is Ash, then I at least have uh then I still have my normal summon. I could special red layer from hand to regain white. If Alphen itself is Ash, then I still have Special Red, normal Alphen, and that's like still some kind of interaction in this case, even though it's I don't think it's certainly enough to beat Snake Eyes, but it was mitigating losses as best as I could. But that ended up going through, and then I'm thinking, and so did Alphen. So I'm thinking, right, I still got my normal summon.
Wow.
This is like if this is a hand trap build, he's certainly not drawing them here. Because I've already went through white effect, the Alphen summons were blue, green, red. Ended up summoning red, which was I was more than happy with because I could just red, add back blue, normal summon blue, get access to carrier.
Oh, perfect, because you didn't
Carrier
normal. Yes, the 1-for-1. I love that.
exactly. Yeah, it was it was a very fortunate opening, even without having E-Tally, I must admit. And then I ended up making Grampulse, ended up making by pitching Alphen, ended up making Carrier by not Carrier, Magna Liger by pitching another card. Then after I made Liger, I did one of I think one of the most fun techniques that you can do in the deck with the Armored XYZ engine that you showcase. Chainlink 1 Monster Gate, tributing Magna Liger. I asked, oh, do you have a response? He said, no. Chainlink 2, Grampus pop my own Monster Gate while it was on the field so that I didn't have to pop any other spell trap
Yes,
cards.
because it's a quick effect with blue on it. Oh my god.
Indeed.
You destroyed your own spell during the activation of the spell. Oh man,
Yes.
I wish I had covered that. That's just incredible.
It's so goofy, but when it comes up with like a reborn, a reasoning, and of course a monster gate, it feels incredible. So monster gate ended up summoning a white layer there, which was quite fortunate. So then I could use red layer to bring back green layer. Then overlay for the Armored XYZ stuff to get the trap card. Which then I could go carrier effect, pitch to target white layer to go for Lustrex, and I went for Dark Knight Lancer, add back the trap again for the second discard.
Of course.
Showcased on the Infinite channel, link up in the top right corner right now.
No, you know what? And wait, pause on that too, because I didn't even get to that. How did I miss that? Dark Knight Lancer can add back the Full Armored Xyz card from the grave and let you discard off of carrier again, giving you extra discard fodder. How did I miss that? But yeah, wow. So you Grand Pulse, right? Pop your own Monster Gate during activation. So Grand Pulse is empty, right? Overlay the Fortress, detach, grab Full Armored Xyz, discard that, make Lancer, add back the Full Armored Xyz, discard that. A second time now.
Yep.
Oh my god. We're so past the age of dangers, aren't we?
We are, and it's so unfortunate because I do miss Tsuchinoko, I miss Jackalope, but
Me too.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know it's just we have new technology.
Yeah, we do. But anyway, so continue, please. So you make the Monster Gate. You make all the mechs, right? And then you're making Magnus, right?
Yes, I had to make a small decision between making a 5 material Magnus with the Ouroboros and Lustrex with a mech from the graveyard, or a 4 material. I elected to go with the 4 material to keep Lustrex on field just as one extra interaction. And I was like, that makes sense. It is one more interact, and Imperm is really solid into Snake Eye. I believe I end up setting 1 Imperm, Full Armored XYZ, and passing, I believe. Yes. And then come to their turn. They start off pretty strongly with a Lightning Storm to clear my Lustrex and my Full Armored thing after I had already after Dark Knight Lancer was already on the field. And I was like, it's okay, it's fine. I still have Magnus, I still have Imperm, which is, Imperm's obviously great into Snake Eye. I'll have white layer effect to get alpha next turn until I say, oh, I'll go chain link 1 white layer if you've got Nova triggers, and they said, does that activate in the graveyard? I said, yeah, absolutely. And they hit me, slam down that cold buy, and I'm like, oh
No,
no.
called by on white. No, this sucks because like
uh,
they're 2 for 2 right now at this point. They're like clearly drawing everything they need against you. They got 3, what is it, 4 more cards in hand.
oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, right, this is. I said Lightsworn was the run killer. This is going to be the run killer. They do end up, thankfully, normal summoning Poplar. And I'm like, okay, thank God. That's the easiest impound of my life. They won't have anything else here. But I
Right, because
don't end up
that's one of
doing.
the weakest ones, right? To normal summon Poplar is basically admitting, yeah, this is the the only engine I can play.
Yes, absolutely. But I don't end up impounding this here because I let them get through original simple spells. I think that was a mistake because I was 4 rounds at this point. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll let this resolve and I'll just do the Ash, get rid of that hard once per turn just in case. I absolutely should have hit the Poplar there, but I did end up imperming the Ash, which ended their turn with a really annoying setup because as well as original, they drew Temple, put Orc in, so I was like, right, I need to summon something insane because I cannot just normal summon something just to be a guy and let them get Orc effect off. Like there's no way that can happen.
Right.
Uh and this started what I believe to be a game that lasted 35 minutes of a round.
No joke.
I drew into Imperm on that following turn. Said it. They try to go for another push again. I activate Imperm. They're like, oh, I pass. Then the following turn, I am given the Super Quants give me a choice. They say you can either have Engine or you can have Dark Knight Lancer on field because they had gifted me the deck had gifted me with a copy of Monster Reborn.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, I have to. I was like, okay, it makes sense here to go for. I do really need Engine. I could Alpha, but what does that realistically get me? I think I'm going to go for Dark. Like, I think that does get me more pushes, but I think Dark Knight Lancer here just ends up OTK because I can go Magnus Effect, Shovelback Temple. Then all I have to worry about is an unknown back row, and then that this will just end the game forever. So I activate Magnus Effect just as a precaution. I'm down to 3 materials, and my
Ooh.
opponent looks me dead in the eye and says, so can he be affected now? And I say, yes, he can. And I am hit with the forbidden droplet on Magnus, and I'm like,
No.
oh no.
No. Right when you were going for the OTK push. No.
Right when I was going for lethal, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So
Oh my
I
god.
think I went for a Zeus. But
Oh, did you
point
Zeus
is,
over Magnus? I love doing that.
I did, I had because
The
I was like,
Ultra
right, I have
Zord.
to, yeah, I have to ensure that I beat Temple because this, like, if Orc is in rotation, that's just so much free advantage, so much. Oh, and I did do yes, okay, I remember exactly how it went.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so I attacked Zeus away the Temple, and I go Dark Knight Lancer, and I'm thinking, right, I'm feeling good. The Temple is gone. They're not getting that Orc. Orc is in grave. I have Zeus. I have Dark Knight Lancer. They have, I think, only a couple cards in hand. I am clearing this up.
They got you down to
Um,
Magnus with 3 and
and
said
they,
Forbidden Droplet, and then you Zeus and Dark Knight Lancer push. And what are they doing right now? Like how are they still
they,
finding ways?
they certainly were finding ways. Good heavens! I remember they started off their turn with Forbidden Droplet, sending 1, and it was a Flambird just to hit the Zeus, and I was like, "Oh
Oh
my god, that is
no.
the worst thing it could have been." Um,
No.
so my Zeus gets negated. They go for Flamberge effect, get their Snake Eye Ash, get Snake Eye Oak, Oak effect, bring back Poplar, Ash effect, search Poplar, and they have 4 bodies on field.
No.
Poplar ends up searching for, and I hated to see it. I was like, please don't have it. Sinful Spoils Subversion, the Snake Eye card that pushes one to the back row.
Right.
And I was like, I have to Dark Knight Lancer here, otherwise I end on 0 interaction. So Dark Knight Lancer, I got full armed XYZ effect on Lancer. Take what I believe to be the best target, the Snake Eye Oak, just because if they it cuts them off of a second effect every now and again. And thankfully, that did it. They told me after the game if I had just one more body, I was going for the Zealantis OTK with Princess, and I was like, yeah,
my God. You saw it coming.
They end up going
you knew.
for. Oh yeah. I honestly, I wish I could say I had the foresight to say like, oh yeah, this is definitely coming, but it was honestly just a case of this is my last point of interaction. It's getting forced. I have to do it now, otherwise I'm cooked either way. And so he ended up link climbing into a Raging Phoenix, I think it was, just to have something to bring back with Princess. But I at this point I was just praying for Engine, and I think we were both at a point where we were like we are running out of cards. Like what else do we have?
So how did you close out game 1 though? Like what was the finisher? What was the thing that sealed it?
The thing that sealed it, I remember, and it was a so fast forwarding toward the end, just because so much happened in that game. I made a crucial error earlier where I used blue to shuffle back blue, so now I had no blues in graveyard to which shuffle back Magnus. So over the course of 2 turns, I used red layer effect to bring back Magna Carrier on 1 turn, and on another turn, by taking my opponent's Princess after using my own, I used Princess effect to revive my red layer, target Magnus to bring it back to hand, link off into early, Carrier effect, slam down, and then with my Princess in grave, Magnus was back online. Only a few materials, but that was enough to wipe away the field as much as I could, and that was enough to finish game 1 with only 10 minutes left in the round.
What? Yeah, so 35-minute game 1, fought tooth and nail through 30 minutes roughly of non-engine.
Oh my God, it was.
It's gosh. So okay, so lesson learned from game 1, right? Like always keep a blue in grave or something, right?
Yeah. If there was ever an advanced like Super Quant skill that I think is like, this is one that I think is like really important to learn just in general. I would say learning blue layer shuffles on like what to shuffle back, what to not, can make or break. Guaranteed.
Absolutely. And you see it here because like 30 minutes of fighting tooth and nail against Snake Eyes OTK. This man trying to go for your life. Literally.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
And you just made Magnus on him multiple times.
So sometimes that's just what you gotta do.
It's what you gotta do. And if that isn't clear, that like, hey, Super Quants has a grind game, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think there are certainly ways to build Super Quant where it is a all or nothing, go for it, blink and you'll miss it, make Magnus sing. And I think that is a very respectable way of like building the deck. But I think you can absolutely build the deck to have like really nice grind game. You can have make it so that you're still making Magnus fairly consistently, and you're still doing stuff every turn. Your turn 1 is not the only turn you're playing, and I think that is a really great aspect of the deck, the versatility and what it can do and how you can build it.
Absolutely. And this is clear right there. You're in a very competitive tournament. You're round 4, 0 game losses, and you're just like, I made Magnus turn 1, and this man said, I'm gonna take you down to 3 materials and droplets you. And then when you make Zeus, I'll droplet you again. Oh my gosh, man, what a crazy game. Oh, so 10 minutes left going into game 2 for round 4. and obviously you're hopeful that this is a clean 2-0 again. What did you pull off? How did
Yes.
that happen?
So knowing that I can, I'm going for Magnus and having the side deck available to, they end up going first this time, which very respectable. But on this game, the deck I did not call for it, but it answered anyway. It answered me with an Ash and with an Imperm
Oh,
in hand, so 2 hand trap.
perfect. And it's not like you play
Uh,
many in any of the boards here. Like you really just have, what is it? Just the 3 imperm in main. What's
yes.
9
Uh,
total across all boards? It looks like imperm, ash, nib. I'm not seeing any other hand traps here.
Yeah, you got me. I learned my lesson from when I played in the regional Belgium, where I got absolutely demolished when I was trying to force a bunch of hand traps in the main deck, which, while very strong and very necessary for stopping a deck like Snake Eye, which I did face at the regional, and they don't do much to really help push the engine. So in terms of the actual main deck, I was doing uh, uh, I switched to board breakers just because droplet works really well with white layer, red layer, green layer, and Italy and the like. Enemy controller, incredible for divine, and I really
Absolutely.
like triple tactic talents. Yeah, just to draw cards and stuff. And impam, of course, is has a lot of uses, but
Board breaker
in this
and a hand
case,
trap, really. And so, yeah, I mean, so you drew the ash and the imperm, and what else? What were you thinking?
I think I started my turn with like 6 minutes left in the round. I drew. I remember when I was drawing my 6 card hand. First card I drew was Takatombok, and I was like, oh god, now okay, now this is the run killer. I'm not winning. It's not winning at all. But
Grab the Taka Tomborg. Oh my god.
so they start off the turn with a special of Fenrir, um, and then they use Fenrir effect to search for a unicorn. Uh, then they start with a normal summon of Oak.
That's a little odd.
And they go Oak effect, sending their Fenrir, sending their. It is. But I think it's just because they don't have much else that they could send. It was a big like signal, I guess. It was a tell that, like, hey, I don't have much here. So I was like, cool. I will easily ash that up. And they were like, yep, that's fine. Specialed unicorn, and I'm thinking I need to imperm this because if they grab birth, I'm going to have to imperm the Fenrir anyways. I imperm that, they set one and they pass. And I'm like, right, that's fine. They activate, I believe it's you might know the card name. It's the Ritual Beast trap card. Well, that's a very similar to Dimensional Barrier.
Oh yes, Simul Archfiends.
Simul Archfiends, yes, and it's the first time I've ever had that card flipped on me. So they said,
Oh
okay,
no.
yeah, if you
It's
control a
D-barrier,
Link
but
monster,
worse.
exactly. And I'm
Oh
sat there
no.
thinking, oh my gosh, like I can't make it to Zeus. I like
You
this.
can't make a link play. You must be thinking, okay, I've eaten D-barrier today, and now I'm eating Simul Archfiends. There's no way I win this, right?
I am thinking exactly that because I'm looking at my hand and I'm a little frazzled, so I can't remember exactly what was in it. But I do remember thinking, oh my gosh, I need to hit green layer with this alpha, otherwise I just lost the duel. If I hit green layer, I believe I had one other alpha in hand. So I was like double alpha or something like that. If I hit green layer, I can Book of Moon the unicorn and then beat over it and end on something.
Did you hit the green layer?
I did. I absolutely did.
Oh
It was
my
it was
god.
extremely lucky. I think even hitting blue here, which is so peculiar, hitting blue would have been worse than hitting a green layer here because
What?
then I was yeah, I did not have a rank free capable of beating over the unicorn. So, and another reason why is because with the body brought back from red, Takatombo came up. Uh, where because I controlled a wind monster, which was Green Lair Ouroboros, I could special Takatombo and end on IP and Ouroboros, and I'm like, okay, this
There you
is the
go.
board
That's
state.
what we're looking
Yeah.
for. So you get Green Layer on field. You think, okay, awesome. Green Layer summon Alphen, and you have the Takatomborg, and you're staring at Takatomborg and saying, "This will be useful," and you summon
Yes,
it out.
absolutely. I'm like, okay, this actually does something. But I believe by the time I on resolution of Green Layer effect, they're like, okay, that's it. I'm going to drop my unicorn effect, and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, please do not hit Ouroboros. Please do not hit
Do not hear
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros. They don't know, right? How could they know, right?
How could they know? How could they know? And I think because they saw Alphen and knew of the level modulation, they were like, oh well, if I hit Ouroboros, I go for. So they end up hitting the SP, and they make a joke about it, saying like, oh, I'm taking away your £100 from you. Your deck is now less valuable.
So they go for the SP thinking that's the power play. And I mean, rightfully so. If you make IP and SP next turn is scary. Um,
Oh, of course,
under
of course.
Archfiends, I mean, that would have been the smart choice, right?
Absolutely, of course. In my head, I'm like, okay, well, I've got no synchros, no fusions. I'm on one link some of the turn. I'm on one XC some of the turn. What else am I doing?
Okay, so you make the Ouroboros. You flip Unicorn face down. Unicorn has 2100 defense. Ouroboros has 2200 defense. Just enough.
And at this point, because we only had a few seconds in round, at this point, I beat over it, and then IP Masquerena for game brought down their life points by 800.
No
And
way.
they, indeed, they looked at the clock, sent the hand, and I was like, GG, and that was the 4-0 run done, and I was exasperated.
Oh, wow. Down to the very last second, down to the very last count of life points. Everybody counting, even Takatomborg. Incredible. 4-0, 2-0ing every round. Not a single game lost to your name, and winning a mat, rightfully so. Incredible, Cursed. Incredible. Truly inspirational.
Thank you.
But wow, what a day. This is like for me, hearing about this is like so inspirational. It's a historic moment for me. Like a 4-0, 2-0ing every round with Super Quants, the pure, unadulterated joy of Super Quants. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's for your efforts. The team has been training.
Yes. We've been in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Absolutely. So
got
now,
the think
they're
tank.
going to come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, incredible. Wow. So, I mean, and you know what? Hopefully this isn't the last time this happens, you know? I can foresee.
We will get those regional tops. I know Midnight said that they want to go to regional sometimes. I know Vam has been participating in tournaments here and there. So I think, and we've got a bunch of new people in the Super Quant Discord that are all really hoping. I think there was even someone that said like, "Hey, I want to take this deck to nationals." Right?
They did. I saw that. Somebody taken to nationals. Like, wow. Okay, this is what I'm looking for, you know. And this is what I'm hoping for. Is somebody looks at this deck and says, "This has potential. I see what this is going for. I see what this can do. I'm going to pilot this deck and take it far." And I mean, all it takes is one person to just make all of our days and say, yeah, I got, top at a regional or a YCS or a tier 2, type of event like that. That's just incredible.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Dream.
And it's coming one day. No matter who, someone is doing it, guaranteed.
Yeah, I believe it. And I mean, who knows if you're listening to this, it might be you. Maybe you should join the Super Quant Discord and join our think tank and start talking to people and learning about the deck and all its many different variations. Link in the description below.
Very good promo.
There you go. So yeah, absolutely open invitation to everybody who loves Super Quants. Join in the Discord and talk to us. We're very welcoming, as I'm sure Kirst will agree. We have open arms, wide open arms for everybody. Any innovation is allowed.
Absolutely, absolutely. That we do our best to try not to be um, dogmatic or stuck in certain beliefs. Like as long as you're pushing the deck, you're a pilot. You know,
Yeah,
you're going for it.
yeah, yeah. So any final thoughts you might have?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm just really happy with how the deck performed, and how much it has improved recently, due to the innovations and ideas of a whole think tank of different folks working on it. I know that we were talking beforehand about the idea of a community to SuperQuant, and for a while it did only feel like there were a limited number of people working on it. But now that we have so many different folks trying their best with it, it really does feel like the deck is at a point where like so many new ideas and philosophies are coming together to create some of the best builds that we've had in years. So, like, I gotta say thank you to everyone in Discord, and thank you to you, of course, Infinite, for the ideas that you showcase on your channel.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for joining me today to discuss this. I just hope that anybody, our future, our future Super Quant YCS top pilot is out there, and you're listening, and you give the deck a shot, and you keep on trying with it, keep on training with it. And yeah, I believe we can do it. I believe it. We won't need Konami's support to get a top. How about that? We'll do it without the support
True.
and without a reprint of Alphen. Thank you very much. No super
We don't
necessary.
need you, Konami.
Yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, purely over here with like Platinum Collector Rare and Prismatic and all that. Oh my
The new
goodness.
rarities are nice,
Oh
right?
man, yeah, and yep, we can't even get a super for our starter. Yep, go figure.
Oh. But when we get the top, we will get an OTS super, an ulti, everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me, Kirst. And yeah,
Of
if
course.
you would like to give a shout out to maybe do a little promo, like where can people hear more from you?
So, if you want to hear more from me specifically, you can head to my Twitter at HerschelTech. But if you're more interested in Super Quant discussion, Super Quant theory, or like where to find certain deck lists, Infinite mentioned it, but absolutely head to the Super Quantum Base Archetype Discord. That's where you're going to see me discussing Super Quants, or going to see other pilots like we've got Grant, we've got Not, we've got Infinite, Wendelicious, Asparagus Bends, Vam, Midnight, of course, the wonderful Plus Infinite here today, and so many more great pilots that are going to push deck in a million different directions. So if you're interested in that, please head there in the link down below.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I've been Plus Infinite. Thank you so much for watching. Stay cool, take care, and have a good rest of your day.
Hello, viewers. It's me, Super Quantum Fairy Alphen. You're watching Plus Infinite. Subscribe for more Super Quantum content. Ay, 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 ay.